Well, 19 minutes past 9, it has been quite a week if you're a space geek like me, because the American moonlander Odysseus landed on the lunar surface. Now, there's been some confusion. It is apparently alive and well after a bit of a white-knuckle touchdown, but it is the first private spacecraft ever to reach the lunar surface, and the first from the States for more than 50 years.
Well, that's brilliant news. Lots of people talking about this week. It's being described as a new dawn for lunar missions, apparently. Well, Per Wimmer joins us now to tell us all about it.
Oh.
It's very exciting, isn't it, if you're a space nerd like Stephen and I imagine like yourself.
Absolutely. It is fascinating, and it is truly a revolutionary thing for a private company to put anything on the moon. But it also should be seen in the context of the moon and space opening up to private companies more generally. We've seen an awful lot of money going into the space, about $15 billion of private money heading in addition to NASA's about $24 billion. So lots is happening, which then poses the big question, I suppose, who owns the moon and who's in charge?
Yeah, but I mean, what I find fascinating about this, I mean, NASA's been the main sponsor of this mission. It's gone up on a SpaceX craft, hasn't it? And then the unit itself is Intuitive Machines. It's this sort of collaboration. Is this the only way we can do things now on to get people to put their own money into these things rather than relying on a government-funded body like NASA?
Well, I think NASA has an important role to play still, because it does provide the initial contracts to private companies, in this case $77 million worth, which is a lot of money, and it allows companies to sort of get going. Intuitive Machines was started in 2013, so it's relatively young, but given that initial boost of cash from NASA, then allows them to build a business. Now, in terms of NASA, what they want to do is go into deeper space exploration, do the difficult bit, not so much the transportation bit like SpaceX is doing with the Falcon 9, getting it up there, but also allowing increasingly private companies to do their bit so that they can do the increasingly very, very difficult bit that has no commercial sort of component to it.
Sorry, I was just going to say, in terms of the... Sorry, I'm getting into my groove now. In terms of what the mission will achieve, I mean, getting there is a big thing, obviously, the fact that you prove that can be done privately. But a lot of the stuff on board was things like these laser-guided landing and all this sort of thing, which hasn't... One system failed completely, the other one didn't, the backup didn't work quite properly, we've got a tilt on and all the rest of it. Are they failed experiments, or do we learn from those failures?
No, first and foremost, it's a massive achievement in its own right, getting there. So full stop, just like Apollo 11 when they got there in the first place. But there were sort of 3 or 4 main missions up there, and one of them was to learn about the lunar surface a little bit, and that certainly is possible still. Secondly was to improve the guidance systems for future missions by having very, very precise reflectors so that you can see where is the orbiter, where's the lunar lander in the future. So this is just as much as a question about preparing for the future and for future missions, etc. There's also a degree of monitoring the lunar weather, which is important, just like it is here on Earth when you do lunar missions. So you can argue it's sort of smaller missions, but preparing for potentially bigger missions going to the moon and hopefully eventually building a lunar base.
Well, on that note, is there worry about that? Is there concern about the moon opening up to commercial space exploration and what that might mean? Because at the moment, kind of anything goes, doesn't it, on the moon?
In principle, and it begs the question, sort of who owns it and what regulates it. And there's actually a few funny, if you look back in history, there's a few people who've actually claimed ownership of the moon. There was a German guy, Martin Jürgens, who claimed that he was given the moon, his ancestor was given the moon in 1756 by the King of Prussia and King Frederick the Great. Obviously, that got nowhere. And later, there was famously an American guy called Dennis Hope, who started selling real estate on the moon. For $25 an acre. And he sold more than 600 million, allegedly, according to himself. So he made a lot of money on it. But the bottom line is the moon and space is mainly regulated by what's called the Outer Space Treaty from 1967. There's been 3 more treaties since then. But that's the main thing. But the problem with that is it regulates the relationship between states and not private moon activities or space activities. So there's a big legal gap here.
Oh, well, it gives the lawyers something to do over the next few decades. I should think, Per, as always, really great to see you. Thank you very much indeed.
That's it from us. Thanks for your company. Camilla's up next.